I saved her life. 7 days later, she destroyed mine. I saved Sloane Whitmore's life on a Saturday night. 7 days later, she sat beneath the bright lights of a hospital press conference, looked directly into the cameras, and said Lena Brooks wasn't trying to rescue me. She was trying to finish what she started. By sunset, my name was trending across the country. By Monday morning, I had lost my scholarship, my internship, my position at the student newspaper, and nearly my freedom. The worst part, Sloane knew I was the only reason she was still alive. My name is Lena Brooks. I was 21 years old and a senior at Ridgeway University in Virginia. Ridgeway wasn't the kind of school people simply attended. It was the kind of place families put on Christmas cards. Old brick buildings, white columns, famous alumni, donation plaques with names bigger than the classrooms they funded. I didn't belong to one of those families. My mother worked night shifts as an emergency room receptionist. I worked mornings at the campus coffee shop and weekends in the university media lab. Everything else was covered by the Franklin Investigative Journalism Scholarship. Without that scholarship, I couldn't afford Ridgeway for a month. Sloane Whitmore had never worried about tuition. Her mother, Julia Whitmore, chaired the university foundation. Her grandfather's name was carved above the business school entrance. Sloane was student body president, captain of the debate team, and the smiling face of nearly every Ridgeway charity campaign. She was beautiful, composed, and terrifyingly good at making people feel chosen. When she hugged someone, cameras appeared. When she cried, donors opened their wallets. When she lied, people thanked her for being brave. We were both finalists for the Halston Fellowship, a prestigious investigative media program in Washington, D.C. There was only one position. 3 days before the accident, I had asked Sloane a question she didn't like. We were standing inside the ballroom during Ridgeway's Winter Giving Gala. I was covering the event for the student newspaper. Sloane had raised more than $200,000 for emergency student housing. At least, that was what the banners claimed. I checked the financial statement twice. Then, I approached her. "Sloane, can I ask you about the housing fund?" She smiled without turning away from the photographer. "Of course." "The gala website says you raised $212,000. "We did." "The university ledger shows deposits of $158,000. Her smile remained perfectly still. "Accounting hasn't processed everything. The gala was 6 weeks ago." "Then you should ask accounting." "I did. They told me to ask your committee." Sloane finally looked at me. Beside her stood Mason Reed, her boyfriend. Mason's father was running for governor, and Mason behaved like the election had already made him royalty. He leaned toward me. "Is this really the time?" "It's a charity fund," I said. "I think the timing matters." Sloane lightly touched his arm. "It's okay, Mason." Then she turned back to me. "You're competing against me for the Halston Fellowship, aren't you? That has nothing to do with the missing money." "Maybe not to you." Her voice was gentle enough for the photographer to miss the threat. "But when you publish this, Lena, make sure you're investigating the fund, not auditioning for a fellowship." I lowered my recorder. "Then give me the records. I'll send them Monday." She didn't. Saturday night, I attended an alumni party to interview 2 donors. I left shortly after 11. It was raining hard, and every rideshare in town had a 40-minute wait, so I started walking toward campus. I was crossing the footbridge over Miller Creek when I heard tires scream. A black SUV shot through the intersection, struck the guardrail, and rolled down the embankment. It landed upside down in the creek. I ran. The driver's door opened before I reached the water. A man crawled out. Even in the darkness, I recognized Mason's gray tuxedo jacket. Mason. He froze. Blood ran from his forehead. "What happened? You weren't here," he said. "What? You didn't see me." He staggered toward the trees. I grabbed his sleeve. "There's someone inside." He shoved my hand away. "Call an ambulance." Then he ran. I could hear a horn blaring beneath the water. I called 911, dropped my phone on the muddy bank, and climbed into the creek. The passenger side was almost completely submerged. Sloane hung upside down from her seatbelt, unconscious. I found a rock, broke the rear window, and forced myself inside. The water was freezing. Sloane. Her eyes opened. Lena, I'm getting you out. The belt's stuck. I know. I cut my palm on the broken glass, reached across her, and fought with the release. The water rose past my shoulders. Sloane started panicking. I can't breathe. Look at me. I'm going to die. No, you're not. I pulled a small utility blade from my keychain and sawed through the belt. The second it snapped, Sloane fell against me. I dragged her through the broken window and pulled her toward the bank. She coughed up water, gripping my coat. Mason, she whispered. He ran. Her eyes widened. You saw him? Yes. He can't go to jail. He left you to drown. Please, Lena, save your strength. She tightened her fingers around my wrist. You don't understand. Then the ambulance lights appeared above the embankment. Sloane closed her eyes. At the hospital, a police officer asked me to describe what happened. I told him everything. The SUV, Mason crawling from the driver's side, his bloody forehead, his warning. The officer wrote it down. Then he asked, Were you drinking tonight? No. Did you attend the alumni party? Yes. Did you argue with Miss Whitmore 3 days ago? About a financial story. And you're competing for the same fellowship. I looked at him. I just pulled her out of a sinking car. I'm establishing context. Mason arrived at the hospital 20 minutes later, wearing sweatpants and a university hoodie. The cut on his forehead was covered by a bandage. I stood up. That's him. Mason looked confused. That's who you were driving? His mother stepped between us. Mason was at his apartment. No, he wasn't. Mason stared at me as if I were a stranger. I haven't seen Lena since the gala. You told me I wasn't there. Officer, his mother said my son came here because he heard about Sloane. I pointed at the bandage. How did you cut your head? I hit a cabinet. At 11:30 at night, Mason's expression changed. Not fear, calculation. He turned to the officer. I think Lena's in shock. 3 days later, the police searched my dorm room. They found nothing. On the fourth day, Ridgway's disciplinary office summoned me. Dean Halpern sat at the head of the conference table. Professor Elena Ortiz, my journalism advisor, sat beside him. Sloane appeared through a video screen from her hospital room. Her face was pale. A bruise curved along her jaw. Julia Whitmore sat beside her, holding her hand. Dean Halpern cleared his throat. Lena, Miss Whitmore has provided a different account of the accident. What account? Sloane looked down. I didn't want to say anything. Her mother whispered, You're safe now. Sloane inhaled shakily. Lena offered to drive me home from the party. She was angry about the fellowship. She kept accusing me of stealing money. I wasn't in the SUV. You were driving, Sloane said. That's a lie. You started speeding. Sloane, I begged you to stop. Her voice cracked. You said if you couldn't have the fellowship, neither of us would. Julia covered her mouth. Professor Ortiz stared at me. Sloane continued. After the crash, I woke up underwater. Lena was outside the car. She watched me through the window. I stood so quickly, my chair struck the wall. I broke the window. Dean Halpern raised his voice. Sit down. She knows Mason was driving. Sloane began crying. I don't know why she hates me. Julia placed 3 printed pages on the table. Dean Halpern slid them toward me. They were screenshots of text messages. Messages supposedly sent from my number. You stole that fellowship. I know about the money. I could make one accident look like another. My hands went cold. I didn't send these. The number belongs to you, Dean Halpern said. Someone spoofed it. Sloane whispered, I deleted some because they frightened me. That's convenient. Professor Ortiz spoke for the first time. Lena, be careful. I looked at her. You believe her? I believe this situation is serious. Campus security found my silver newspaper pin beneath the driver's seat. The police found my blood on the steering wheel. I explained that I had reached across the front seats while cutting Sloane's belt. No one cared. A photograph appeared showing me inside the same SUV 2 weeks earlier. It had been taken when I interviewed Sloane during a campus tour. Online, the caption read, "Obsessed journalist practiced before attempted murder." My scholarship was suspended. The Halston Fellowship removed me from consideration. The student newspaper placed me on leave. My mother called me after midnight. Her voice sounded smaller than I had ever heard it. "Lena, tell me the truth." "I have." "Were you driving?" "No." "Did you threaten her?" "No." There was a long silence. "I want to believe you." Those words hurt more than the accusations. You should already believe me. I'm scared. So am I. After we hung up, I sat on my dorm floor and watched strangers debate whether I deserved prison. Then someone knocked. It was Theo Park, the Media Lab supervisor, and the closest thing I had to a best friend. He carried a damaged black phone in a plastic evidence bag. I stared at it. "That's mine." Campus police returned it to university IT after they copied the data. It fell into the creek. "I know. It's dead. The phone is dead. Your media account isn't." I looked up. Theo opened his laptop. "You were using the audio journalism app at the gala." I forgot to stop the recording. Exactly. The app synced files to the media server every 30 seconds. He pressed play. Rain hissed through the speakers. Then came the crash. My footsteps, my voice shouting Mason's name. A male voice answered faintly. "You weren't here. You didn't see me." I covered my mouth. Theo paused the recording. "That's Mason. It sounds like him." "It isn't enough. The rain distorted it, and we only have 14 seconds before your phone lost its signal." "What about Sloane?" "The rest stayed on the device." "Can it be recovered?" "Maybe." "Then we give it to the police." Theo shook his head. "If Sloane learns this exists, she'll explain it away before anyone recovers the full file." "What am I supposed to do?" "Let her keep talking." The next morning, Sloane upgraded her story. She claimed I had used my university media access to send the threatening messages. The login records supported her. The temporary number had been created from my student account inside the media building. Dean Halpern called another hearing. "You said your number was spoofed," he told me. It was. Using your own account, I was hosting a live campus radio show when that account was accessed. Sloane leaned toward her camera. "You could have scheduled the messages." "I didn't." Dean Halpern looked at Theo. "Can you confirm Miss Brooks was broadcasting live for the full hour? Could she have remained logged in elsewhere?" Theo hesitated. "Yes." Sloane gave me a sad smile. There it was, another reasonable doubt. After the hearing, Theo checked the media building's electronic locks. Someone had entered the editing suite 6 minutes before the fake number was created. Sloane's student card. We brought the record to Dean Halpern. Sloane didn't panic. I went there to deliver gala footage to Professor Ortiz. Professor Ortiz frowned. She did have permission to submit it. Sloane tilted her head. "Are we accusing me of entering a room I was authorized to enter?" "No," I said. "I'm accusing you of using my computer." "Then, where is the camera footage?" There wasn't any. The hallway camera had stopped recording for 12 minutes. The outage had been reported by Mason. That afternoon, Mason released a rideshare receipt showing he had traveled from the alumni party to his apartment 40 minutes before the crash. The driver confirmed the trip through a written statement. My one eyewitness account was now fighting a digital receipt and a professional driver. Sloane went live from her hospital bed. "I forgive Lena," she told 20,000 viewers. "I believe she needs help, not hatred." People praised her compassion. Then, the student newspaper published a story mentioning that I had attended grief counseling after my father died. Those records were confidential. Professor Ortiz came to my dorm. I didn't approve that article, but someone did. The editor received the information anonymously, from Sloane. "We can't prove that. She's painting me as unstable." Professor Ortiz lowered her voice. "Then stop reacting emotionally." I laughed bitterly. "She leaked my counseling records and I'm the emotional one?" "I'm trying to protect you." "No, you're trying to protect the university." Her silence answered me. That night, I sent 3 confidential emails. One to Dean Halpern, one to the newspaper editor, one to Sloane's attorney. Each email said our recovered audio contained a different identifying detail. In the Dean's version, Mason said something about a red umbrella. In the editor's version, he mentioned a broken watch. In the attorney's version, he mentioned Sloane's blue scarf. None of those details were real. The following morning, Sloane went live again. Lena is now circulating a fabricated audio file, she said. She claims I wore a blue scarf that night. Medical photographs prove I didn't. Theo stared at the screen. She took the bait. She just admitted she saw the attorney's email. Not exactly. She used the blue scarf. She'll say her lawyer told her. That still proves they're monitoring confidential evidence. It proves they're nervous, Theo said. Not guilty. Sloane deleted the live stream within an hour, but we saved it. 2 days later, the valet from the alumni party contacted me. I saw Mason take the SUV, he said over the phone. Will you tell the police? I already did. What happened? Mr. Reed's attorney called my employer. Did he threaten you? He reminded them my work visa expires this summer. My stomach turned. We can protect your identity. No, you can't. He hung up. By morning, he had submitted a new statement, saying he might have confused Mason with another guest. Sloane's attorney filed a civil lawsuit against me for emotional distress, defamation, and attempted extortion. Attached to the lawsuit was a voicemail in my voice. Tell Sloane to withdraw from the fellowship or I release everything. It sounded exactly like me. Theo listened to it 6 times. It's assembled from your podcast episodes. Can we prove that? The background noise is from Studio B. Hear that hum? I heard nothing. A jury won't hear it, I said. A forensic analyst will, assuming I can afford one. The criminal investigation was moving faster than our evidence. My attorney, Maya Caldwell, was a former Ridgeway student working through a legal aid program. She warned me that prosecutors were considering charges for reckless endangerment and evidence tampering. They don't need to prove attempted murder, she said. They only need enough to make your life impossible. Sloane already did that. Then make her overconfident. 3 weeks after the crash, Ridgeway's trustees scheduled a public disciplinary hearing. Sloane requested that it be live-streamed. She wants an audience, Theo said. No, I replied. She needs one. The hearing room was packed. Julia Whitmore sat in the front row. Mason sat beside her, wearing a dark suit and the expression of a grieving boyfriend. Sloane entered slowly with a cane. Everyone stood. She looked fragile, noble, almost saintly. Dean Halpern invited her to speak first. Sloane faced the cameras. I wish Lena no harm, she said, but compassion cannot replace accountability. Her attorney played the fake voicemail. He displayed the threatening messages. He showed photographs of my blood on the steering wheel and my pin beneath the driver's seat. Then Sloane began crying. I remember begging her to slow down. Maya leaned toward me. Let her finish. Sloane wiped her eyes. She said no one would believe me because everyone thought she was the honest one. Maya stood. Miss Whitmore, which seat were you sitting in? The passenger seat. You have always said that. Yes. You were wearing a seatbelt? Yes. And Miss Brooks cut you free? Sloane hesitated. After she realized emergency services were coming. Using what? A blade. Where did the blade come from? I don't know. Miss Brooks's keychain. The same keychain police photographed on the creek bank beside her phone. Sloane's attorney stood. Relevance? Maya turned toward the trustees. If Lena had been driving, her keys would have been inside the vehicle. The room shifted. Sloane recovered quickly. She may have dropped them outside, before or after rolling an SUV down an embankment. I was unconscious. Then, you don't know. Sloane's face tightened. Maya displayed the rideshare receipt, proving Mason's supposed alibi. At 10:52 p.m., Mr. Reed's phone ordered a ride from the alumni house. Mason nodded. Correct. The driver reported transporting a passenger to Mr. Reed's apartment. Correct. Maya enlarged the original service record. The passenger was listed as Julia. The room went silent. Julia Whitmore stopped breathing. Maya continued. The rideshare driver did not transport Mason. He transported Mason's phone, carried by Julia Whitmore's assistant. Julia stood. This is outrageous. The driver amended his statement this morning after receiving immunity from the Commonwealth. Mason looked at Sloane. For the first time, she looked frightened. Maya displayed another record. Mason's smartwatch detected a severe impact at 11:34 p.m. beside Miller Creek. It automatically sent his location to the manufacturer's emergency server. Mason's attorney rose. My client lost that watch weeks earlier. Theo whispered, Here it comes. Maya placed a photograph on the screen. Mason stood at the gala wearing the watch. The photograph had been taken 37 minutes before the crash. Mason turned pale. Sloane reached for her water. Her hand was shaking. Her attorney said, None of this places him behind the wheel. No, Maya replied. This does. A forensic photograph appeared. Blood had been recovered from the driver's side airbag. The DNA belonged to Mason Reed. Mason jumped to his feet. I checked on her after the crash. I stood. You ran. Every face turned toward me. You crawled from the driver's side, I said. You told me I hadn't seen you. Then you left her underwater. Sloane shouted, He was scared. The room froze. Maya looked at her. So he was there. Sloane realized what she had said. I meant if he had been there. Mason stared at her. You said you could handle this. Julia grabbed his arm. Be quiet. Maya nodded toward Theo. He connected my damaged phone to the hearing room speakers. A restored audio file began playing. The crash thundered through the room. My footsteps followed. Then Mason's voice came through clearly. Sloane, get out! The car's going down! My voice shouted his name. Then Mason said, My dad will fix this. You didn't see me. Water splashed. Glass broke. My voice trembled through the speakers. Sloane, look at me. I'm getting you out. Then came Sloane's whisper. Mason can't go to jail. He left you to drown. Please, Lena, if they test him, everything comes out. The recording continued after the paramedics arrived. Sloane's voice was faint but unmistakable. Tell my mother Lena was driving. A paramedic answered, Ma'am, don't speak. Sloane repeated it. Lena was driving. No one in the hearing room moved. Maya displayed the access records from the media building, the fake number account, the deleted live stream, and the forensic analysis proving the voicemail had been assembled from 43 clips of my podcast. Then she showed messages recovered from Sloane's laptop. Mason. She saw me. Sloane. Then we make her the driver. Mason. She saved you. Sloane. That makes the story believable. Another message appeared. Lena was already investigating the housing account. This solves both problems. That was the real reason. Sloane hadn't destroyed me only to protect Mason. She had used the accident to silence my investigation into the missing charity money. More than $50,000 had been diverted through a consulting company controlled by Julia Whitmore. Sloane had approved the invoices. The fellowship wasn't merely a prize she wanted. It was a platform she couldn't risk losing. Mason stood abruptly. This was her plan. Sloane turned on him. You were drunk. You told me to leave. You agreed to blame Lena. Julia shouted, Both of you stop talking. The livestream audience climbed past 200,000 viewers. Sloane looked at the camera. Then she did what she had always done best. She cried. My mother pressured me. Julia stared at her. Sloane? I had just survived a traumatic accident. I wasn't thinking clearly. You created the fake messages 4 days later, Maya said. I was afraid. You leaked Lena's counseling records 2 weeks later. I wanted people to understand her instability. You fabricated a voicemail 3 weeks later. Sloane's tears stopped. Maya stepped closer. At what point did trauma become strategy? Sloane had no answer. Mason was arrested before leaving the building. He later pleaded guilty to driving under the influence, leaving the scene of an accident, conspiracy, and obstruction. Julia Whitmore resigned from the University Foundation and was charged in connection with the missing housing money. Sloane was expelled from Ridgeway. She was also charged with evidence tampering, identity theft, unlawful disclosure of medical information, and conspiracy to obstruct an investigation. The charges against me were dropped. My scholarship was restored. The Halston Fellowship offered me the position again. For several days, I considered rejecting it. Then my mother said, "Don't let the people who tried to take your future decide what you do with it." So I accepted. My first published investigation wasn't about Sloane. It was about how universities protect powerful families until protecting them becomes more expensive than telling the truth. Professor Ortiz helped me edit it. Before publication, she said, "I should have believed you sooner." "Yes," I replied. She waited for me to make it easier for her. I didn't. Theo and I later created an audio series about digital evidence, public manipulation, and the danger of mistaking performance for character. The first episode began with the sound of rain. People still call me brave for entering that creek, but pulling Sloane from the water was the simplest decision I made that night. The difficult part came afterward, when everyone wanted me to doubt what I had seen, what I had heard, and eventually, who I was. I saved Sloane's life. She used that life to destroy mine. But she made one mistake. She believed the person who shouted the loudest would control the truth. She forgot that truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs to survive long enough to be heard.